Hi guys, welcome to my channel, and today I just wanted to talk a little bit about my experience with subliminals. And the reason that I'm doing this is because I have a friend that is just started listening to subliminals, and it reminded me, some of the things that are coming up for her reminded me of things that came up for me when I started listening to subliminals. So I thought I would just share my experience for anybody that is just starting out as to what to expect, because you tend to go to these videos and there's loads and loads of comments saying this worked, wow, this worked, and then it doesn't work for you. So why is that? And also she said, oh, I did some overnight subliminals and I got a headache. And this reminded me that was what used to happen to me, but it doesn't happen anymore. So I just wanted to say that obviously, you know, everyone's going to have a different experience. I don't know anything. I'm just saying my experience. But from my experience, this is quite a normal thing to go through. And I think it's because we're just fighting through a lot of resistance. And that's what I put it down to as to why you can sort of experience a headache when you first start listening to these things. Obviously, there are also some not great subliminals out there. Really, the key actually is to make your own, probably. And I'm actually going to not only make my own, I'm going to make a subliminal channel. It's just on my list of things that I haven't got around to doing yet, because I'm really pushing my travel vlog right now, because it's summer and, you know, there's so much to do and see. So like my big thing right now is my travel vlog that I want to build. And I feel like a subliminal channel is very much easy to do when it's rubbish weather outside. But it is something that I want to do, because you do have to be careful of subliminals. There are subliminals out there that do have, unfortunately, you know, there's people out there with nefarious intentions, and they do create subliminals that are not that great. And you often tend to know because you have bad dreams when you listen to them. And I've had those ones. There's a channel out there and a lot of people talk about it, and I did have nightmares when I listened. So if you have a playlist of subliminals and you're having nightmares or bad dreams, that's probably a good sign that it's not a good channel. And if it's in the middle of a playlist, well, you're going to have to reevaluate that whole playlist and maybe like start just adding one at a time again. There's plenty of people out there that have exposed many channels, so you can go and have a look on like TikTok or YouTube and you'll see other people's opinion. Obviously, sometimes it's just personal opinion as well, and doesn't necessarily mean that creator is intentionally using bad subliminals. But you do have to be careful of it, you know, and if you're spiritual, I think you can tune into the way you feel. Like I definitely have listened to some that are not great, but I tend to know quite quickly, and then I can remove them, and you sort of start to learn which ones are good. The comments can help, but do remember that a lot of the comments also are going to be fake. And this was the first thing I wanted to say. Obviously, there's people out there leaving fake comments for multiple reasons. So when you scroll through, and I find in subliminals, the comments are really helpful. I often read the comments as I'm listening to the subliminal, because it just helps it to sink in more into your subconscious. And what I use subliminals for me personally, is I use them to clear heavy resistance, because that is something where I think we do need to manifest. You know, when we've programmed ourselves with so much sort of negativity around certain topics, it takes a while to unprogram that. So say, for example, you know, I've, for 30 years of my life, affirmed negative things about love and said, oh, no one, you know, the people I like don't like me back. And I've said this over and over and over again. You know, not obviously you don't say it constantly, but you'll say it, you'll think it a lot over your life. Like every time you meet a guy, the thought will drop into your head like, oh, he's probably not going to like me back because guys I like don't like me back. So you've got a lot of reprogramming. It's not like you can listen to one subliminal and everything's going to shift. You know, you have to listen to a lot of subliminals to counteract that, to even get back to like a neutral space. So that's one thing to remember in subliminals. So when you go through the comments and you're reading them, and there's people saying, wow, you know, at the moment I'm doing hair growth ones, because I think I shared in my last video that I finally took the plunge and I removed so you can see over time if they work, I removed my hair extensions that I've been like clinging onto, because I used to have really thick hair, and then I basically damaged it by bleaching it and having a bad cut, and then I put hair extensions on, and the problem is they ruin your hair. So you're caught in a constant vicious circle where you don't want to wait for like a year for it to grow back, but then you also know that you can just go and get them re-put back in and you're going to be, you know, happy with your thick hair again. So I decided to like, you know, cut the strings, and I'm just going to sit through it, and I'm going to sit through having thin, horrible hair for like the next however long, but I'm doing a lot of subliminals on it. And, you know, some of the comments will say, wow, I got 7 inches growth in a day. Now, obviously, that's pretty unrealistic. I mean, if you believe it enough, it could happen, because I do believe that everything that we, you know, perceive within shows up without. But what's more likely to happen is it will grow, you know, fast. It will grow fast. It'll grow faster than normal. And then maybe you'll be guided to things. It's not always that if I listen to a hair growth subliminal, for example, you know, I might then, and it did happen, like yesterday, I've been listening to these hair growth subliminals, and then yesterday I was out with a friend and we were doing some filming, and he mentioned to me something that made his hair grow really, really fast, like pine pollen, and said like when I was using it, my hair just grew crazy fast. So I thought, wow, you know, I've been guided to this subliminal, so I'm going to use it. And it really is just about kind of like saturation, following the signs that show up. And that's my experience with subliminals. And yeah, anyway, sorry, back to the comments. I kind of went off topic there. But remember that people will be putting fake comments, because I'm sure that the creator could easily start many new YouTube channels, because everybody listens to channels when the comments say, wow, this worked for me, this really worked. So of course, some of the comments could be just them trying to get people to use their YouTube channel, right? And then also you've got people that are wanting to manifest. So they write in the comments as if they already have the thing that they have. So it doesn't mean that necessarily all the comments are true. But that's not such a bad thing anyway, because belief creates results. So if we believe these comments, then it's actually going to aid us. And it's why I like reading the comments, because when you read that it's worked for other people, it gives you more faith it's going to work for you. And it just naturally builds builds a momentum and energy towards the thing that you want. It's like the guy that ran the first 4-minute mile, you know, like no one could do it, and then one guy did it, and then everyone can do it. It's like once you kind of break through that glass ceiling, it creates it for everybody. So if it was more common that people could grow 7 inches of hair in a day, then it would be a thing, you know, or that's how I see it anyways. And this is the idea with this constant affirming as well. It's like the idea is that you're reprogramming. And I've said recently, you know, that I don't kind of like that heavy manifesting. And the reason that I don't like it is because I think it takes you out of your flow. It takes you out of presence. It takes you out of like hearing your guidance. It takes you out of a lot of things. But I think, and I've always said this, there is a time in your life when you do need that saturation, because you just have to reprogram things within you that are serious blocks. And they're just going to keep showing up for you until you reprogram. And that is the idea of this constant affirmation. I don't think it's the end state to live in, where you're walking around just constantly affirming or constantly listening to subliminals. But I do think there's a period of a few years where you just need to really, really saturate to switch things. And I do think it's quite common to get this headache, because it used to happen to me a lot. Like if you sleep to a playlist. And for a while, I wasn't sure if it's because something was playing, so I wasn't sleeping deeply, or if it was that. And I have, because other people are having the same thing, I really do actually think that it's that we've got all this resistance. And when we're hitting it that much, it's kind of like we're clearing a lot. And we just wake up like very tired and a headache. And I don't think that's because of bad subliminals. For me, bad subliminals tend to give you nightmares. That's really a key to me, that something's off in that subliminal and I shouldn't be listening to it. And obviously you can really read the comments, because if they are good subliminals, you will tend to find that there's a lot of positive comments. Obviously people can fake a few, but they can't fake loads and loads of really good reviews. But yeah, I feel like that is quite a normal thing. And it just is, you know, at the end of the day, that they're not going to work like that immediately. There's some subliminals I can listen to now and they work for me with one listen. But when I first started with subliminals, that obviously didn't happen. You know, I'd have to listen to endless subliminals to see a result. And that is quite normal. So if you're new and you're listening to subliminals and nothing is happening, that is normal. You just have resistance to that thing. And the people commenting, wow, it happened for me within 3 listens, they just had less resistance than you know. There was definitely ones that now I can listen to, honestly, literally one listen is all it takes, because I've spent years listening to these things. There was a period in my life where I used to walk around with like earbuds in everywhere I went, and I was listening to subliminals because I don't know, I felt guided to it at that time. I don't now they're just an occasional thing I just play for like 20 minutes a day max. I don't really do any conscious manifesting other than perhaps a gratitude list in the morning, including things that I want to bring in, because I prefer to allow my life to flow and for me to feel my guidance, etc. But there was definitely a time when I needed to really hit some patterns hard. That was, you know, I'd done a lot of years or decades of negative self-talk on issues, and for me to switch that, I really needed to kind of bombard. And I am a little bit there on the hair thing now, because I actually used to have such thick hair that hairdressers used to almost say it was unmanageable. It was really thick. And now for years and years, I've told this story, you know, my hair's really thin, my hair's really thin. And that's going to take a bit of counteracting for me to kind of get back to where I was. And I know that. And so I'm kind of going a bit harder on that one. But that's just the way it is. So subliminals, in essence, like, don't worry if it's not happening for you. Don't worry if you listen to loads and it's not happening. You really are just kind of coming to a balance with subliminals. You're coming to where you've just not cleared the resistance yet. And it is that, you know, I know a lot of people are doing this kind of constant affirming right now. And I also had that stage way before it was popular, actually. I was doing it quite a few years ago, where I came across sort of the affirming, and I was sort of looping to the point where I'd be walking around and I'd have a loop in my head. And it was sort of my go-to thoughts. And it did work for me in clearing resistance, but I think I've said in other videos, it didn't make me happy, and it made me quite disconnected to my flow and my intuition, and I wasn't experiencing magic in my life. But I don't regret those years, because I really feel like I rewired my subconscious patterning on the major things that were really holding me back in life. And now I feel like in a much different state, where I can just do them in a much more casual way, whilst allowing my life to kind of flow and to listen to my guidance. But yeah, so that's my experience with subliminal. So firstly, don't worry if it's not happening for you. You've just got resistance in the way, and you have to clear that. And you might need to listen to it more than somebody else. Your friend might get quicker results just because they have less resistance, and you have to persist with them. You know, number 2 is obviously read the comments to boost your morale, even though some of them obviously might be fake. 3, watch out for the bad ones. You can Google, have a search, and yeah, look out for nightmares. But in my experience, headaches when sleeping with subliminals and tiredness in the morning isn't a bad thing. That actually, I believe, is a stage of switching your resistance, which obviously is quite a heavy thing to do. And I do believe that they work. And I do believe that over time, like I said, you can get to a stage where you can listen to a subliminal and you can experience a shift from that subliminal. Let me know, does anyone else listen to subliminals? Do you like subliminals? Do you find the same as me, that's your experience too? Do let me know in the comments, and yeah, I'll speak soon. Bye.